Hi guys, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery, and I'm located in Van.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Highland Heights, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
All right. Hello. We are live.
We're live.
Happy Tuesday. Feels like Monday for me after traveling.
It feels like a day that doesn't even exist for me. It's I don't know
You had
why
an
this.
exhausting day for some reason.
Ah. I think it's just because it's like so hot, and it's one of the first days that has been like consistently hot, and so
Is it hot in the at work too? Is it
yeah.
all warehouse everywhere, so it's just gonna be hot, or is there areas that are more climate controlled and
No,
reasonable?
there's some areas that are climate controlled. Like, okay, technically the whole warehouse is climate controlled, technically. But and there's big fans that they put on, but there are some areas that those fans just don't hit, you know? And,
So there's
and
no circulation of air at all.
right, so like the last hour of working, I was in one of those areas with like no circulation.
Oh.
And I have like a tiny little fan, and I just forgot to bring it over. But like this morning, I was in paper, and paper has AC because it has to, because if it's too humid, then that's not good for the paper. So it has to be like super climate controlled. Everywhere else they're like, eh, you'll be
Yeah,
fine.
it can withstand. Yeah.
But I mean, like the fact that it even has some AC is like, I mean, a lot of warehouses don't have AC at all.
Yeah, I
So
mean, you're in a big metal box in the middle of a
yeah.
field, probably.
When I'm in the wheels room, that has AC, and my station where I work the most is like right in front of the AC, and at like 6:45 in the morning, it is so cold because it's just like blowing right at your back.
Oh,
And one time my boss came in and he was like, "You better not wear that outside." Like in the regular warehouse, because I was wearing like a flannel shirt because I was chilly. And I was like, "Oh, I won't."
yeah. You need like a designated jacket for that spot.
Yeah, I just like keep a like a flannel in there when I work there, just so that I can wear it right when I'm in front of the
Yeah.
AC, and then I take it off. But
Yeah. Are you keeping
it
some
is
like
getting annoying.
have you got to like getting electrolyte drink packets and stuff like that so you can get through the toasty warehouse days coming
Dude, I
up?
drink so much water. Thank God they have an ice machine. Um, I have like my water bottle, and then I actually take my little baby water bottle, and I drink a Zip Fizz every morning instead of like coffee or anything because it has caffeine.
Hmm.
And the caffeine has been really helping me like stay even. Because I have, as most everybody knows, I have ADHD, and so caffeine, I react to caffeine much different than most people. It just kind of like focuses me. So I drink one of those every day. It's been
Mm.
it's been nice to have such like routine. Like some days I don't hit the routine, but when I'm in the wheel room, I like get there, and then I go out at 8 o'clock and get my Zip Fizz, and then I come back and then do break, and then like every day the same thing. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, the routine definitely helps. I wonder if some of that, because I do the black tea every morning. I wonder if even if I switched it and just had like, I mean, I don't do this, but start with like a green tea instead of a black tea. I don't know if it's, oh, I need that because of the caffeine, or if it's just like it settles me and starts me off because the routine is so consistent
Yeah, I don't know.
rather than the actual chemistry of the caffeine and the hot liquid and all that stuff.
Yeah, like today I had the caffeine right at 6, and I feel like that was just a little too early. Or at 7, I guess. Um, but I was on my feet all day, which is typical of what I do. But my ankle has been hurting a little bit more, and I assume that it's because of weather change. So,
Mhm.
how are you doing? How Tell me about this weekend.
Yeah, so we did a little surprise trip to Kansas to visit Isaac and Karina and the family out in Newton, Kansas, which is a lot larger than Harper, Kansas.
Nice.
I was looking it up. Harper, Kansas, where Isaac used to live, was 2,000 people in the census that was like 4 or 5 years ago. Newton is around 20,000 people, so a lot more
Wow.
populated. Big town living out there in Kansas, and yeah, so we kind of did like a little surprise trip. His gallery soft opening happened this Saturday, and they just got approval, like inspections done on Friday for, allowing people to come in. So they were kind of like hoping everything went well, and it did. They had folks come in all day Saturday, and then we got to surprise them there. It was myself, my wife, Rachel, and my mom went as well. So Deech went from Deech is not her actual name for people that hear me say that. That her name is Deidre. Deidre, not Deidre or Dietrich. It's Deidre with a hard E. D
DEIDRE.
Deidre, yeah. So we got to Louisville the right before we left, and then we just drove all day Friday. So it was about 10 and a half hours or so.
And then you got an Airbnb and then surprised him on Saturday.
Yeah, we got an Airbnb like 5 minutes, like 4 minutes up the road. So close. Just
Nice.
right down the street in Newton. And he was kind of mad because we surprised him Saturday morning at, I don't know, like 9 in the morning. Went to the coffee shop and went in there, surprised him. And he was like, "When did y'all get in? Like, you could have came over last night. You didn't tell me or anything." Because I told Karina a few weeks back, because I was kind of feeling him out, like, when are you gonna do it? Do you have, are you actually firm on that date or not? Because I was originally scheduled to have a soda fire workshop this past weekend, and I didn't have enough interest at, a few weeks out, and I just decided to cancel it because I didn't have anybody signed up yet. So, and I was like, "Ooh, I think I can make this work." I was kind of telling him well, I didn't tell him my plans for the weekend, but I was kind of like, "Oh, I'll just like, do something else, have a free weekend." So drove out, surprised him, and he was like, "You could have came in last night. You got here at 6 or 6:30 on Friday, and you didn't come and see me and say hi." And we were like, "No, you're probably like getting set up for the gallery and all this stuff." But it was good. He was surprised. Karina was happy to see us. Javi and Natalia were nice to see them as well. And we got to spend pretty much like the evening on Saturday and all day Sunday with them and headed out Monday. So it was a nice little Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but yeah, so little long weekend.
That's nice. I texted him and I was like, I'm so sorry I couldn't come because I like Ryan texted me and asked me if I wanted to come and I definitely um wanted to, but May has been a fucking month.
Hmm.
And
If it
so
was not such a middle of the nowhere plane ride, it might,
yeah,
it might have worked a little easier if he
it
was.
might have worked a little easier. Yeah, like I even looked up at the like the plane flights and everything, and it's a two plane trip
Hmm.
and
Guaranteed two planes. Yeah.
yeah, guaranteed two planes. And so, um and it's just, May, I've spent so much money on plane trips in May. I couldn't afford it. Like legit couldn't afford it and probably mentally couldn't afford it either.
Hmm.
And he texted me, he goes, "If you would have come, I would have died." Like it to have all of us there, I think that he would have tapped out. He probably would have cried.
Rachel was saying like, "You're gonna make Isaac cry when you surprise him." I'm like, "No, no, I won't."
Well, he is a crier, but
He he did not, but he was shocked because there's a lot of sunlight in the front window, so when you walk in, you can't really make the faces out until you get close enough.
yeah.
Because they were probably 50 feet away from the front door when we walked in. And he was like, "I think that's Ryan." And then I like walked in, I was like, "What's up, man?" And he was like, "Oh my God, what? What are you doing here?" kind of thing. So yeah, Karina kept the secret and made it happen. It was nice to not have a lot planned because I mean, it's like relatively small town, but Rachel was like, we're gonna, thrift a little bit. There was a lot of thrift options, like vintage stores and antique stores. There was a
Was
lot
it
of that in Newton.
20,000 people is the perfect size town, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Monroe is 20,000,
Oh, it
Statesville is
was.
20,000. Like, it is the perfect size town. It's small enough to where everybody knows everybody, but big enough that you can have your own space. It's great.
Right.
It's a great
It
size.
yeah, it was a good size. I mean, you
Like, big
weren't
enough for
through
a
the town. It's not
Walmart.
like a one light town. It's the
Yeah.
Walmart was like 10 minutes up the road.
Yeah, it's like a Main Street town. Like, they have a Main Street and like a really cute downtown, but they also have like plenty of,
Hmm.
they don't have a Target, but they have a Walmart. It's like,
No. Yeah, they got a Walmart. They got all the big um like fast food kind of places, but also they have small town like a snow cone shop, a snow
yeah,
cone hut, and a local coffee shop. It's not Starbucks. Like you can go to the edge of town and get to Starbucks if you want. But
yeah,
there's a lot of, there's still like a Kroger there. They call it
yeah.
Dillon's there. But yeah, it's big enough that it's not one light town, which is kind of what Harper was.
You
And
muted out. What did you say?
it's not like a one light town where there's
Yeah,
no like main street, or if there is, you're 2 blocks and you're past it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's always at least one hardware store. That's super nice.
Yeah. They have a good size hardware store.
Did I tell
So
you when I came to Statesville for the first time, I texted Jen,
no.
and there is a Lowe's and a Home Depot in Statesville, and
Oh,
and
that's getting on the big side if you've got
I know
both of
I
them and
texted her
not
and
not an Ace Hardware only or
no, and I texted her and I was like, I thought you said this was a small town. And she was like, it is. And I was like, it has two hardware stores. What the fuck? Turns out that Lowe's headquarters is in like Mooresville, which is like ten miles away or somewhere
mm,
close. And I
okay.
think that that's the reason. So,
Yeah, that'll do it.
yeah, I'm sure the Lowe's population in North Carolina is pretty high.
Yeah. But yeah, they had everything you needed there and had some good food options there. Of course,
Nice.
I got Freddy's. Freddy's was up the street.
Oh, nice.
Freddy's and barbecue and all the good stuff. So it was nice. We didn't have a ton planned. Had a lot of flexibility with what we wanted to do and just hang out and obviously Isaac likes to drive us around and show us, what the town's like and what
Yeah.
places are, and showed us Bethel College up the street and Heston College, which are the ones that he kind of went to for periods of time.
Hmm.
And it was nice to see that stuff. So definitely a good trip. And I'll be going out to a soda workshop this weekend. So I'll be traveling again. But Rachel made out like a bandit with all the thrift stores and vintage shopping and all that good stuff. So,
Nice.
so she loved it. Gives her a reason to want to come back in the future. So,
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah.
yeah.
I did nothing this weekend and it was great. No, that's a lie. We did a game night. Me and James and his wife did a game night. It was fun. But it's funny, like baby Andrew called me on Saturday. He's like, "So what are you doing today?" And I was like, "Absolutely nothing. Saturdays are my do nothing days."
Hmm.
Yeah. But oh, I was gonna tell you, not that this really makes any sense to anybody, but I've been staying behind the studio in the last like couple weeks because it's been raining so much. June gloom. And I guess it is April showers, huh? Well, I've always experienced June showers, but like May, June showers. And I think I figured out a good place to park my van next to the shanty house, and then I'm gonna put up a tent, and then I'll have my hammock in the back, and we're gonna try and hook up the well at the shanty house.
So,
And
well,
yeah, so I just have to figure out how to do the wiring, but I have a generator that I can run the well with. And I was thinking about at
like it's
work.
got a pulley or something to just go down and get. What are you going to use the well for?
Oh my God, Ryan, where are you from? Wells, lots of houses have wells. Okay,
I know,
right?
but so you have a spigot that hooks up to the well so it pumps the water out?
Yeah, but you have to power the pump. So it's not like a bucket system like the in the 17th century. It's like,
Okay. I've never lived anywhere with a well. I've probably
I
seen like
know,
5 wells in my life, so I don't,
I know.
not a thing for me.
So they drill a hole. Now, I don't know the whole in and outs of it, but they drill a hole and then they put a pump and into it, and that pump has to be powered. And the
Hmm.
once you power the pump, then you get the water out of it. And then it's just like water. Of
So does
course,
it come up to like a water spigot?
yeah, it would have like a water spigot where you like, oh no, we shouldn't say that on the podcast.
I
People
think
will
I
get
said it correctly.
uh
Spigot with a G.
spigot, spigot,
Spigot.
spigot.
Sorry, I have an
Anyway,
accent.
um, and then you can like hook a hose up to it.
Hmm.
So the pump usually takes a little while to like generate, but it's just like a fountain pump kind of type of thing.
Mm.
So yeah,
And
so
it's
I'm
all just
excited.
groundwater, so you just and more rain helps it as well. Like I don't know,
No,
this is probably super simple shit, but
no, that's not necessarily how it works. So there's water underground, and
right.
yeah, yes, rain can help it, but also can, oh, well, that's a septic anyway. But so they drill as deep as they can until they hit water, and then it should be good for like it's very rare that a well dries up. Um,
So can you make
but
like an outdoor shower with it?
yeah, that's my plan.
Okay.
And but I was also thinking about I asked the one of the guys at work if they what they do with those plastic barrels because we make pink soap. It's like a soap that you can wash your brushes in, and
Mm,
all of the pink soap, I don't know if I think they make it. I don't know. But it's in these big white, like 50-gallon drums that are
hmm.
plastic. And I was like, oh, I could just get one of those and then wash it out because it's soap. And then I could store the water in there and then it'll get to like the temperature that it is outside. And then it'd be like a really nice temperature to take a shower in.
Hmm.
So,
You can use some fountain pump from
oh, I
something hooked up
got
to that maybe to
I got a pump. So I
pump it
got
up.
something off of Amazon that it has like a pump with a shower nozzle
Oh.
and it's
I mean, it's
battery.
kind of that's kind of what the Mighty Sink uses, right? Sort of like an electric
Yeah.
pump situation.
Yeah, sort of like that, but it has a shower nozzle. Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that'll be nice. You won't have to go to you don't have to go off site to do that, and it's probably not that uncomfortable to just do it outside with
yeah, and I could
some.
have a pool. I could get like a little waiting.
Oh,
But I mean, sure, I'm positive that the water is very rich in iron, so
I
it's
was
not
gonna say,
like
is well water generally clean, or is it kind of like
yeah,
iffy?
it's cleanish. It definitely has a lot of minerals and it tastes bad, but a lot of people just drink straight from a well. Depending on where they're located. Here, it's like really iron heavy, I believe, and it tastes terrible. So typically, they have filtration systems that are attached to like that go through the what like takes the well water and it filters out the water in your house, and then you get drinking water from that. Um, so, you know, I won't have that, but I don't need that. It's not
Hmm.
potable,
Yeah, I mean, if you filled a drum
I'm
up
sure
with it, you
I'm
could
sure it is
probably.
potable, but like I won't be using it for potable purposes. So,
Right,
yeah. And I have a
okay,
filter for drinking water anyway, so it doesn't matter. But
right. Yeah,
yeah.
that'd be a nice little upgrade and get you out of the woods where it's probably tough to. I mean, you don't want it like swampy and muddy and stuff over there.
Yeah, I mean it is kind of woodsy like, but I'm gonna have to park my van on the side of the house where there's actually sun. I won't be able to park it behind the house because there's too many trees. Um and
For the solar
yeah,
situation.
for the solar situation. And I have a whole good idea for the AC once I get the holes in. I was thinking maybe after we get off today, if it's not too late, I might try to drill the holes if it's still light. So we'll see.
Ooh.
Maybe that today or tomorrow. Who knows? So yeah.
Nice.
So that's exciting. I just have to figure out how to do the electrical for the well because I have to make some sort of a plug to 220. So it's got like
Oh, it's like a big pump.
yeah, it's got like one of those really hard wires, like
Oh.
the thick wires. So I have to figure out how to do that. Maybe I could call your dad and he could maybe talk me through a few things. That might
Yeah.
be a good
Can you hook
idea.
it up? I mean, could you hook it up to like a car battery or something?
No, I mean my power stations will be fine. I have the
Okay.
generator's perfect, and plus I haven't used it yet, and I need to.
Oh, right, you have the generator. Okay. Yeah. Because there's got to be a way to do that. I
And the
don't know.
generator is just gas, so I'll just drive to the gas station, fill it up, and then come back, and it's easy peasy. Costs $3 probably. So
Yeah, that'll be worth it. I mean, especially if you can use a drum to store it, you just got to pump it for a period of time. It's not like you're trying to
yeah,
power. It's not like
and
you're
then
trying
I
to
can
use it for a
wash
whole
my
house.
clothes like I did last year. How fun!
Oh yeah, do you still have that sort of portable washer thing?
I do. It's just sitting here waiting to be used.
Oh.
I do
What
enjoy
do
the
you
laundromat, but
I
also
mean, you can probably use like distilled water or something for that, right? It probably doesn't use that much water. Or what, I mean, would it be gross to wash your clothes in iron-rich well water?
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, you got detergents and stuff too. I guess that would.
yeah. No, I don't. It actually uses probably like 5 to 7 gallons of water
Oh, okay.
to
That's more
wash
than
a
I thought.
load. Yeah. Yeah, washing clothes is really wasteful as far as water is concerned. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay. Do we want to I mentioned to Becca before this, we got a review that we hadn't read. It actually came in April.
Yeah.
And we appreciate all the reviews you all send in or post, and then we can find them and share them with you all, whether it's a positive one, a little merit one, or a negative one. So
Yep.
we haven't had too much of a negative one too recently. So
No. Yeah, they've been pretty good. I can read it.
okay, go ahead.
It says, my favorite, 5 stars. I love this podcast. I listen to it in the car and when working on pots. Becca and Ryan are a wealth of information and make me smile and laugh. That is from Eric KF.
Erica YF. Nice.
Erica YF.
I think
But it
it's
looks like
Erica.
Eric K. No, Erica is with a C.
Not necessarily.
No,
I've
not
seen
our Erica.
no, I've seen Erica spelled with a K.
No, but our Erica is with a C.
Yeah, I didn't say it was our Erica.
Oh, I thought that's what you said.
No, I just said Erica YF.
Yeah. Maybe it's Erica, your fan.
Maybe. Guessing that's just your Apple ID. I
Yeah, I
don't
don't know.
think I've ever done reviews. I guess mine would probably be
Maybe
like
you should
dirt.
write us a review.
I don't know that I should do that.
I wrote us a review.
Did you?
Yeah, but it literally said, "Hi, this is Becca. I'm just testing this."
Okay. I'm like, I feel like that would kind of pad the stats a little bit. I don't know that I want to do that. Or I could just rate it without putting a actual text review, so it pads the stats, but kind of unknowingly.
Yeah, or you could write something funny that's
Hmm.
not a review. You could do a dad joke.
I could do a review that is like, thank you for those of you who spend the time to write these because we really appreciate them and read them on the podcast. We
Yeah,
may
that's
even read yours. Like that might be a good little prompt of people that are looking at the reviews.
yeah.
Hmm. Okay, something to think about. All right. What's next?
Um. Next is that we get to talk about our favorite kilns.
Yeah, we do. We
Yeah,
got
we do.
L&L Kilns. I got a fi Ooh, I fired mine right after I got back. I needed to fill the rest of it up before Erica fired a or glazed a few things while I was gone, so I was able to fire that bad boy up. I got some tests in there. Looking forward to seeing how those turn out. And I did a new program on there. I did a different program that was kind of like a modified version of Heidi's program, which is like a really slow glaze.
Yeah.
But I have the older controller on that one, on that kiln. So I had to go through a lot of steps to type in. And I was like, I had the Genesis controller open and turned on with the custom segments and everything, the that program, and I was like
Yeah.
bouncing back and forth between them as I was typing it
And
in.
just
So
to make sure you saved one.
yeah, so I saved the one and then I'm like, okay, now I got to remember which user setting or program setting I saved for the future so that I remember. But man, that Genesis controller is so much nicer to have everything in one spot. You can visually see all the segments or all your custom programs in there. And there's a bunch of them that are already preset in there if you want to just go with what's there. But
Yeah. It's so nice to be able to just like go through. I never thought I'd be the person that has like 7 different programs that I use consistently, but I am. I am that person because I have like one for jewelry, one for jewelry glaze, one for jewelry bisque, one for red clay, one for white clay, one for like just so many different programs, and it's so nice to just save it as a name. But you know what's so funny that I found out, and this is a quick tip for people, is that if you push a letter all the way to the left, sometimes it actually goes to the absolute other side of the keyboard and pushes that letter because like I always accidentally, like push like S or T and it goes to Q on the like exact opposite side of the keyboard
oh, I've
because
never
my
done that.
fingers are so big. And yeah, so I've just learned to like position my finger a little bit. But I think it's funny that it chooses the letter like as if it was in a circle.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice. I'm gonna unload that probably tomorrow. But yeah, luckily I haven't had to change any elements recently. I'm sure we'll get to that at some point. I don't think I haven't changed the elements on my newest kiln that I got in 23 from Insika
Oh yeah.
just yet. So
But
it's
it's
been pretty
so
nice.
user friendly. Like when you do eventually change the elements, like even a beginner can do it because all of the instructions are online. And I think they even have demos for certain parts of it. And it's just like an easy thing to figure out. You don't have to be a seasoned potter to own an L&L. You can be a beginner hobby potter if you want.
Yep. Start out with the easy repairs, kind of build your confidence. And you feel like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought, or
Yeah.
ooh, I'm gonna mess something up. Like when it's fairly easy, you feel supported with whether you're a visual learner with watching a video or you want to look at an instruction manual that's step by step. I got the newest kiln and it's got an instruction manual that's pretty extensive. They've got manuals online as well. So kind of just depends on what you want to watch. Or I mean, if you go to their Instagram, there's a lot of people that are showing setting up new kilns and firing programs or loading. I just did a video of me like loading up a bisque firing of the plug-in fire and how many
Yeah.
I fit in there. So that was pretty fun. And yeah, there's just so many resources these days. It shouldn't make you feel like you're in the dark and you have to, call somebody or have somebody that knows what's, all the ins and outs and is like an expert at this. Easy
Yeah.
enough that somebody that's new can figure it out, and then it's advanced enough that you can use some of those more fancy settings and programs and everything if you need to. So,
Yeah, it's not like back in the 2000s when when I was learning how to fix my kilns and looking on online forums with everybody telling you a different answer. It's not like that anymore.
oh man, I had one of those old Dunkin' kilns. It was a kiln sitter, and
We had the same one.
I had to hunt down their instruction manual, which is some scanned in version that was a PDF. Luckily, it was
Oh,
online as
did
a PDF.
I? The
But yeah,
cheap film.
you
Ugh.
just hunt for that PDF because it's black and white scanned in and you're like hunting through there to hopefully it's got what you need in there and then you're like how do I source elements and all this. Luckily it's a lot more advanced these days. I mean, people just have to figure it out with kiln sitters that are old, but
Yeah,
good to learn on, but it's nice to know the support's there when you're
for sure.
spending a bunch of money on on something like a kiln.
100%.
All right, Becca, where are you going to find out support, see the kilns available, videos, all that good stuff?
Podkilns.com.
There we go. Are we doing a listener question next, or do you want to do maker of the moment?
Um, let's do maker of the moment.
Maker of the moment. Okay.
The Instagram.
I got mine picked
All right.
out.
You go.
So I'm gonna start out with Hawthorne underscore ceramics. Her name is Becky. Looks like she's in the Midwest. I'm not
You
exactly sure
moved it.
where. Hawthorne underscore ceramics on Instagram. And ooh, it's like it looks like a speckled buff, maybe clay. And there's a lot of imagery on it. So it's a lot of layers. There's it looks like some how'd you say underglaze transfer? There's like slip inlay. Maybe it's not underglaze transfer. It's like it's a lot of
I
it's
think
a
it
lot of
looks like an
imagery.
underglaze transfer.
There, yeah, there's some underglaze transfer. There's also some kind of like where I think Meg used to do this some with her pieces where you put stencils and paper and imagery and all that stuff on the clay and then you paint slip over it and then you peel it back. I can't remember what
Yeah,
that's
Cody
called.
does that.
Cody, yeah. And Sarah Anderson does that a little bit.
No, she doesn't do that. She does something different. She carves. She's graffito.
She carves it. Okay. So yeah, it's a lot of there's some layered aspects. There's a lot of different colors in there. There's imagery that's probably painted. I'm like hand drawn and painted, peeled
Yeah.
out. So
Oh
there's
my God.
each one is so unique.
It's so cool. And I love how she's glazing inside of the handles and not necessarily the outsides. Her handles are bomb.
Oh yeah, that red, seeing the raw clay underneath show through in different areas
Yeah.
that, using that as some of the color that you're getting, and then you've got, the glaze inside the handle part where you're holding it. That's really nice.
Yeah, these are great.
Yeah, so that's Becky from Hawthorne Ceramics. I kind of want to figure out where she's actually located at. About Hawthorne. It just says handmade in the Midwest. I'm sure I could find it, but I like a Midwest potter. Nice. All right, that's who we got.
Nice.
Uh, Becca's getting that put on the Instagram account, I hope.
Already did it. I didn't
Already
highlight it
did it.
yet, but yeah, my
Nice.
person is Maddie Made Pottery. That's Maddie Made Pottery, and she has 4,441 followers. And she, I think she is in Windsor, Ontario, so Canada, and it's very simple but very like bright rainbowy flower, not rainbowy, flowery kind of pieces. She looks so young. She's a youngin'. And what I first of all, I love that there's like a uh I love it when you can see people's style and how it kind of evolves, like if it's newer and how it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of evolving. And what I like is that it's simple with like little flowers. Just, it's not too overly done. Like your person has there's a lot of texture and everything like that, which is great. This person is the opposite. There's still a picture, but it's very like a white background to it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think both are really great for certain things. And it's just like they're very good looking. Like they're just cute drawings and they're just cute pots. Like there's one with a crab and it's a lobster and it's really cute. And
Yeah, and
there's a little bit of sgraffito.
it could have been that, Hawthorne was doing more simple designs and then the layering added and then there's like, okay, can we go a little bit further and add another layer
Right,
of
exactly.
so it's kind of interesting to see how the evolution happens with the styles. And there it looks like maybe there's some Maddie's got maybe some underglazed pencil kind of drawings
Yeah,
on there with maybe underglaze or like a Myolica, some like a wash. Maybe it's like an underglaze wash.
yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
it looks like graduated in 2023 studying college, studying ceramics in college. So, but also I saw a post that said uh flashback from 11 years ago in 2022 and she was 9 years old starting
Wow,
in pottery. And then
that's
it's been
wild.
11 years. It's like, man, when you start that early, you can get so much.
So much learning.
Yeah, you don't really think about it's like, oh, I started at 9 years old, and then like most people just say like, oh, I did that one time. But it's cool to see like, oh, you re-spark that, and then you kind of like just go from there, and you can really accelerate your process and your technique and everything pretty quickly. I feel
Nice,
like
nice, nice.
it's nice to not have that pressure. I wonder people that kind of get into it when there's not that, and maybe it's like a individual mental thing of I should monetize this and I should make a business of this when you're to a certain age
Yeah,
and you're kind of expected to versus you're still a kid in a lot of ways, whether it's age wise or commitments or you're still in school and you're kind of figuring it out as a young adult and there's not as much pressure and it's kind of nice to spend those years figuring it out and trying things because you're just in it for the love of the game, sort of.
yeah. I loved doing pottery in college because I was able to make as many mistakes as possible. And I think that, first of all, I'm thankful that I had that perspective when I was younger to go into college and be like, I'm here to fuck up. I'm here to mess up as much as possible so that when I leave, I'm not like, because I know that this clay is provided for me. It's like, a certain amount of money a quarter, but that's it, and you have so much opportunity just to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, I don't think I even considered selling it until I was probably in college, probably late, like junior year of college. And I'd already been doing it since sophomore year of high school,
Yeah.
probably 5 years. I mean, obviously you're doing it, quote unquote part time because you're in school and everything, and you're just doing it one class in high school and maybe doing a little bit. I was doing it during summer break and winter break at local clay studios, but you kind of just have fun with, oh, I just want to go to the clay studio twice a week or whatever, and you just do whatever you can for 6 hours or however much time you have available and have at it.
Did I ever tell you that when I started getting into pottery was sophomore year of college, and then I want to say it was my junior summer. So our studio we had a combination lock in the back, and so we could get in whenever. And so I would drive from Glendora. I would drive from Glendora every weekend and drive to the studio and spend the night in the student lounge and
Really?
take showers in the bathroom because they had a shower in the bathroom because there was a foundry. And I was like the only person that did anything in the studio. So I was like alone. The only people that were in the art department was these oh, they were like chemistry engineers or some type of engineers that were building boats. And
Mhm.
and like there was a few times that I freaked the fuck out because I thought people were out there or whatever. But yeah, I used to spend every single weekend in the studio all by myself.
See, those are some of the like memories you remember for the lifetime. You're never gonna forget those.
Yeah.
Like I remember there's certain it sounds weird, but like there's certain smells of the studios that you've went in.
Oh yeah.
And there's like and I don't it's probably a combination of like some of the workers that were there as well as like just some of the smells of clay and like the back rooms of where the clay and the shelving units are and the whatever. And it's just like that stuff sticks in my brain. And then there's certain people you interact with, and there was this teacher that was old school Potter. I think he's still alive. His name was Les, and he was anti needle tool. Never used a needle tool. Didn't want to teach
Nice.
people how to use needle tools. He's kind of like, you just do it. You don't do it so that you can cut the piece off and all this stuff. So yeah, some of those memories, and then other studios where you go in there and you're the only one, and um, yeah. Oh, and that one studio I'm specifically talking about is not around anymore in Louisville. Who's in a certain area of town, and you kind of go there, and my grandpa would drop me off because my parents would work during the day, so I had that was before I drove and everything, and it was great. And then I did some during college. I stayed with family friends in Northern Kentucky when I was out of school during the summer, but I worked on campus during the summer. So I stayed with family friends, and then I would go to Covington Clay where they had 24-hour access. So they had a key code on the front door, and you could go in there anytime you wanted.
Yeah.
And it was really nice to just be there all hours of the night, and you're just making stuff, and like nobody's there. Maybe Rick would be there here and there, but I would, listen to stuff on the radio, or I think I was listening to like Reds baseball games or whatever. And you're just like hanging out in the studio and the freedom to just do whatever you wanted in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty
I love
wild.
it. Love
You know
it.
what we used to do in college? There was this like tiny little room type thingy under the stairs in the ceramics room. The ceramics room was giant. Like our ceramics room was like 2 stories high, and it was kind of like a warehouse type room at the end of the building, and it had like big fans and stuff to vent out everything. Well, under one of the vents that we never used and didn't work, we like brought in a refrigerator and put in sandwich material, and like we'd go to Costco or Sam's and get sandwich stuff, and then every sandwich cost $1 if you like forgot your lunch. So you
Mm.
could just like go in there and make a little Sammy and pay $1.
Right. Community, kind of like a community fridge for
Yeah.
pay what you can kind of thing, sort of.
Yeah, it was great.
Who had to clean that bad boy out? Because I remember we had to clean out some studio fridges at NKU, and it was not fun.
We kept it pretty clean. Yeah. I
Okay,
feel
kind
like
of
the
a
only time I've ever had like a really nasty fridge was when me and Sarah both left um
oh
our studio in Indy and forgot about the fridge. It was rough. And then we just left it closed for like a really long time because
ooh
yeah, poor Sarah. I think she was the one that actually ended up cleaning most of it out. Yeah.
ooh.
Sorry, Sarah. Yeah.
All right, so we have a listener question. First listener
Yeah.
question,
I'll
and
read you read this one and I'll read the next one because it's
the next
going.
one more applies to me. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're reading this one. I'm reading the next one.
Oh, you're reading this. Okay. All right, this one is from YKS Ceramics on Instagram. It reads, "Hi there. I've been a listener for about 2 years and I'm looking for advice on wholesaling, specifically how to approach a brick and mortar or online business with my ceramics. What are the must-dos slash must-haves, samples, line sheets, photographs, how best to be prepared to make a positive impression? I know you've covered how to wholesale, but I'm curious if there's a previous episode that includes advice on approaching a business directly as opposed to fair, etc. Would love to hear from a small business on what makes them want to sell an artist's goods. Thanks for your time, Yvonne."
Sweet.
So I'm trying to think. I don't know that I've directly gone into brick and mortars for wholesale specifically, but I've definitely emailed people to ask them if they would be interested in wholesale. Like a whole, I think I kept it as simple as, "Hi, I visited your store and I think my work would." It's kind of like you propose it as like you're adding value to their store. Like I think my work would complement your store's offerings well, kind of that approach. And I think they would pair nicely. And I was wondering if you'd be open to a wholesale or if you're open to consignment, a wholesale or a consignment partnership. Kind of keep it simple. Maybe put links to your website. If you want to put Instagram links in there, I would kind of keep it simple like that. I haven't necessarily gone with line sheets or anything. I feel like that's kind of a lot to drop on somebody.
Yeah. So I have a different experience because I have done exactly that. And well, I have brought stuff into stores. I think I can't remember exactly if I have brought stuff into stores, but I have had people approach me at shows, and also I a couple years ago made this like amazing little catalog. And now I don't know if I'd technically like recommend this unless you could make it on your home printer, just like print it
Keep it
out and
affordable. Yeah.
yeah, like be frugal with it because it cost me a lot of money. Now, did it look amazing? Yes. It did. But I think that just stapling it in the middle and, just like producing them with like a little catalog would be is something that is so not done nowadays and is very, very much loved. So
Hmm.
I had one of my roommate John back visiting his um when he was back visiting his folks in California, dropped one of my catalogs off at this store in Chico, California, near Chico, I guess, and they ended up contacting me because they they really liked my stuff and the prices were right and it was just wild that he just kind of like dropped this catalog off and it got noticed. So yes, I have done it that way and it was a great account for me. That was the account where remember that giant box fell out of my car on the
Ooh,
highway?
yes. Can't forget that.
That was that account. But it was such a lovely experience. And I can't guarantee that everybody would have such a lovely experience, but it was a weird situation. But so anyway, all this to say, I do think that a physical copy of something goes a long ways, even though a lot of people don't think it does. It does. Like even
Yeah,
like somebody would probably be like,
you're gonna look pretty organized for sure if you have a printed
yeah.
version too. Like, oh, like they're a professional. They've done this before. They're not just, gonna be a hot mess to work with.
Yeah. I also have, okay, I remember when actually me and Rachel went into a shop with my earrings and showed them earrings to see if they would want a wholesale, and they ended up turning me down because the price point wasn't where they wanted to be. But we have done that, and I will say that like showing people physical products does go a long way as well. I think I've told this story a lot, but one of my old friends used to tell me that, you should just take your van full of stuff and walk in and be like, "Hey, I have a bunch of pots over here. You want to look at them?" and hand it to them. And when you hand them the pot and you say, "Hey, we'll have a no pile over here or a yes pile over here." And when you hand them the pot and they're like holding it, it it's so much more of a choice. So they have to like put it off to the side or, so that's like a good way of doing it. But I've just walked up and down streets before and been like, "Hey," I like handed out my catalog. I was like, "Hey, I'm wholesaling and this is my catalog." You know. You can also do find wholesale shows. Uh I
Right,
would
where they're coming to you specifically with the intention of buying, and then they have a curated set of sellers there that are, different mediums or, those are the ones that Andrew goes to, whether it's wholesale dedicated
yeah.
to that, and then he does greeting
Now,
cards and that kind of
I'm
stuff. So,
not sure that I would technically recommend a wholesale show for most people because it's a lot. Like, Andrew spends thousands on his wholesale shows, so keep that in mind. But I do think that, it's like you can find smaller ones that aren't gonna be $1 billion. So,
yeah, I would probably recommend that if you've already had experience with wholesale. I wouldn't go out of
yeah,
the gate and probably go that route if you've never wholesaled before and handled clients in that way.
yeah,
Because
I think,
because in that aspect, you're doing a B2B interaction. You're doing business to business. You're the business and you're interacting with another business that's going to be selling your stuff. So it's a little different of a relationship than a B2C business to consumer, where you're one on one with a consumer that's actually buying the item and using the item, probably like a family or they're gifting it. It's a little different of a relationship.
yeah. I would also like to say quickly too, if you do end up going to like find stores yourself, keep in mind that it is not totally kosher to have a bunch of stores that are right next to each other. A lot of people try to have like one store per zip code. That's a good rule of thumb. You don't necessarily have to do that. Like obviously, big cities and stuff, you can have a couple, but keep that in mind, especially if you're in small towns. You don't want to disadvantage the store that you're going to be in and also yourself by having too much all over the place.
Some will have contracts that you can't do that. I
Yeah.
I think I mentioned it on the podcast. There was a existing wholesaler that is in a certain city, and then they actively sell my work. I signed a contract with them that I'm going to wholesale, but also there was some stipulation in there that we would be the only representation for RD Ceramics in that city. So
Yeah.
it's a relatively small town. I don't know if it's 20,000 or more or less, but there was another business that was down the street from them that reached out to me with interest. And then I didn't realize that it was part of the contract, but I brought it up to them of saying, "Hey, is there a way that we can kind of make this work?" And then they said, "Oh, by the way, like you signed a contract that said this. If you're willing to sell with them and you think that would work with your business better, then we can return your items for a certain amount or whatever."
Yeah.
Or I can't remember exactly, but it was one of those things where like you don't want to step on each other's toes, and like they're walking down the street, like they're gonna see it, so like don't feel
Yeah.
like you're gonna get it by them. Even if it's, oh, well, I only sell mugs to you, but they want flower pots. Like maybe you can make that work, but just have open transparency about what you're doing so you don't violate something or uh, sour that relationship
Yeah.
if you don't want to. So I was digging up the only I would say the only reason that I actually had a packet because I did this packet situation kind of like what Becca was talking about that I you kind of print one out. I did this for the wholesale show that I do in Lexington in the March timeframe every year. So it's a wholesale and a retail day. That's the Kentucky Crafted Market. So Friday is dedicated to wholesale, and then Saturday, Sunday is a retail day for the public to come in. And it's pretty straightforward. It's just got information about my minimums, my timeline of delivery, shipping delivery costs, payment, and simple stuff like that. And then it's got photos of certain products with their wholesale price, their retail price, how big they are, what color options I have. So it's basically that kind of like you're talking about, but it's super bare bones. I printed it at Staples in color. It's not fancy. It doesn't have all the graphical things that like a nice catalog would look like. It's just straight up, you know, just a Word doc that I made. Um, I might, that this will get the job done for some places. And when I had it at the show, people were walking around and not that many people had these they were like, "Oh, you have these to like give out to us? I didn't expect that." You're like, you know, that's nice. So, depending on how experienced those places are, I would say they see that you're making an effort. You've got all your details out, and you know, there's less back and forth. They could ask, "Oh, well, like what things do you offer for wholesale?" And then you've got to say, "Well, I have mugs and bowls and plates or whatever." And you've got to, they want to see what those look like, and they want to know the prices, and they want to know how long you take to deliver it. Like, so if you can organize all that, and I also have that on my website as well. So I have a whole, if you go to ryandurbinceramics.com and you, in the about section, or I think it's shop, there's a wholesale page. If you want to look at what I'm talking about, there's a wholesale page that has all these same details on it. So I can send people to that page if they want, where I've had people reach out through Etsy or my website and say, "Hey, I'm interested in wholesale. Like, what do you have?" And then I can just direct them right to the website that has all that information. So,
Also, it should be noted that a lot of people that have stores, um, wholesale like busy time is different than our busy time because our busy time is the same as their retail busy time. So they're looking for products at the beginning of the year. So they're looking for products during January through March. So the earlier in the year you can reach somebody, the better.
hmm yeah, don't read, they're shopping for Mother's Day time, Father's Day, that time. So if they get it at the beginning of the year, as well as, the spring when shopping started to pick up. So they get you at the first quarter. I'd say probably Q2, Q1 and Q3 are probably highest.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
Q3 is more for holiday shopping. So right in the middle of the summer, they're kind of getting the
Yep.
products for the holiday season and thinking about it because, you don't want to be in a tough spot. Let's say they ordered in July, you're making work for your fall shows, your summer shows, or whatever, winter, and you want to be able to accommodate in your own schedule as well as accommodate for them so that they can have product in a reasonable amount of time so that they can get it on the shelves, get it advertised, photographed, whatever, so they can promote it for the holiday season, which, I mean, for a lot of stores starts in September, October.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a completely different business model. And I would, it's one of those things I definitely, I'd say you kind of crawl, walk, run with it. Don't. I actually got a wholesale order my very first show that I did, and it was just somebody that was like, "I have a store. Have you ever wholesaled?" And I was like, "Not really." And I basically, uh, I think I sold like $120 worth of work at wholesale price total. So it was like a small order, but it was dipping my toe in, and I also like ridiculously caught priced some pieces that I wholesaled at one point. Like my yarn bowls that I first started selling, I think I was retailing them for like 25 bucks. And I wholesaled them for like 12.50 and I was like, "Holy shit." And I think they got like 15 or something. And then I started like raising my prices on them and yeah, I was like, "Okay, these don't make sense to wholesale. Like wholesaling yarn bowls doesn't make sense."
We don't even need to talk about mice Phillips with
So
wholesale.
so yeah, I mean, a lot of these you're relationship building, you're figuring it out. And a lot of these shops that you approach, they might not even wholesale themselves. So it might be something that because it is a big commitment for them because they got to fork over money up front. They're paying 50% of the retail, but hopefully they can recoup that cost by selling a good chunk of that stock. Because just like if anybody's bought t-shirts, like branded t-shirts, you've got to, I mean, that's essentially what you're doing. You're paying wholesale and you got to recoup that cost by selling a certain percentage of it. And that's kind of the risk they run. So, um, if you can kind of make it work with, I feel like it can be kind of intimidating if you're selling with an experienced wholesaler because they kind of have higher expectations for you
Hmm?
of I want this and these are the colors I want and do you offer this and like the cheaper you are, the more the cheap, I'm going to say generally the cheaper you are and the more value that they can squeeze out of that item that they can sell, like they have the higher leverage in that situation because you don't realize that you're probably underpricing it.
Yeah, and sometimes they will walk all over you. You have to have a firm stance and
Yeah.
know your boundaries and your like what you want out of everything before you go in because they will test it. Like Ryan recently had somebody that didn't want to sign his contract and he was like, "Well, tough shit." Like,
Yeah, they were like, I've never had any wholesaler ever ask me to sign a contract like this. I don't feel comfortable doing that. And I was like, well, sorry, I won't drop my work off there then. So I had to like draw the line before I even delivered the stuff. We talked through everything I was going to take and all that stuff, but yeah. Whew. A lot of that you do kind of have to try it out, see what you think. I mean, sure, I think we've all sold things wholesale that we probably didn't make enough money on. And
oh yeah.
you kind of just figured out that's part of learning as long as you don't overextend yourself too much and promise, okay, well, I'm going to wholesale 100 planters at $6 a piece. You know, the bigger numbers you play with, the more it's going to hit you, and you'll realize it as you're making them and everything like that. So yeah, you're asking good questions though. I I think I mean, regardless of how experienced you are in it, you still have to make a good impression with clients, show them that your work will complement what they already have, show them that you're a professional, that you can have all your information like available for them so they can see what they're going to get. They feel confident about you as a business owner, as a professional, and that you're going to fulfill what you say you're going to do on time.
Yeah. We have done a lot of shows on wholesale, so I would kind of like look back and kind of pinpoint the wholesale shows, but one that I would specifically mention is the one with Andrew Fegler, who's that's flight attendant Andrew. That's stationary Andrew.
Hmm.
And he is my best friend and he lives in Washington and he's running a very successful business right now selling cards. And he kind of talks about how he emails people and stuff like that. So, um,
Yeah, so he was on two different episodes. He was on episode 59 back in the day, Hustling Online, and then he was also on 192, which is I think the one you're talking about called Managing a Wholesale Business.
yeah, definitely do 192. That one, and plus he's delightful.
Yeah. So some of these might seem like a little overkill if you're just getting going, but you know,
It's still good to know, you know?
yeah, it's good to know what's available because I mean, you can make your entire business based on wholesale, and that's how you make all your money. If maybe you like cranking out work and you don't like going to shows and talking to people, and it's just a big burden, and maybe you need flexibility with maybe you have family with commitments on the weekends, and you need to do something a little bit hybrid or different for you. So, yeah, it's a good opportunity if you can. I mean, you still have to be able to produce efficiently if you're going to wholesale. So,
Yeah.
and don't
Speaking of
feel bad about drawing the line of what you're willing to wholesale and what you're not willing to wholesale, because I have firm lines of what I can do and what I can't do, even if they
yeah,
ask for it.
and some people just aren't meant to wholesale, and you just need to accept that. Um, Also speaking of Andrew, funny quick story. That motherfucker just did Pride.
Hmm.
So he's doing all the prides up and down the fucking coast of California or something. I don't know. But
Yeah, I think he's doing San Francisco, LA, and West Hollywood or something. I don't know if
yeah.
those are this
So he's
West
doing like
Hollywood.
all
Yeah.
the prides with his cards. And then he just decided to fly to London yesterday.
Oh,
He
I
was
thought that was a joke.
No, it wasn't a joke. He texts me and he goes, and
Oh
he's
my
like
God.
asking me a question about American Airlines because I fly American all the time through our thing, and he's my flight attendant buddy, so that's who I get my flight stuff from. And and so I went in and I was trying to like book it for him, but I was like, "What the fuck? You're going to London? I need your fucking passport." And so I had to like show him a video of how to do it. But yeah, that motherfucker just flew to London just for a day and then he's just flying back. Like Jesus.
That's wild.
So, yep, anyway.
Whew. We had
If
so
you,
many stories we heard from flight attendant friends of Rachel's when she was in that. I mean,
this
we
is
still see stories of people traveling like all over.
ugh,
Whew. I'm kind of getting to a point where it's so exhausting. I'm like, okay, like driving is kind of what I can control, and that seems reasonable. Obviously, we got to pay for everything nowadays, but
yeah,
whew, yeah, that life is it's definitely got its perks.
sure does.
The
Yeah, I
flexibility
want
and
to.
not having, children and dependents and things like that definitely assist in that.
No, yeah. He does have a full-on business, but it's fine.
Yeah, that's where you have enough staff and people that can take care of stuff while you're gone, or you know, hopefully you can get it to that point.
Right. Anyway, um, yeah.
Before we get to
So,
our topic for the day.
yeah, you know what? I've actually been doing ceramics a little bit more recently, and again, I'm so happy that I have advancers for my mini kiln.
Oh yeah.
Like, I cannot describe to you how annoying it would be to not have advancers because I'm f doing full underglazed bottoms on
Oh
these,
yeah.
and I don't have to worry about them just like plucking and like sticking to the shelves. I just put a smidge of alumina on there and poof, it's great. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, use the Lumen trick. Thanks for that. Got that from you. Um, yeah, I've actually got some wild clay that we dug out of I dug out of the flower bed
Oh,
that I've got on my advancer shelf in the glaze kiln. I already bisqued it. I'm not confident it's going to last to cone 6, but I've got the advancer cookie on there. So if it melts into a puddle, who cares? The cookie, it'll just scrape right off there. It's no problem. So we shall see. And then
did
I
you
can I can
wait,
test
wait,
it in
wait.
my little kiln if I want.
You
Go ahead.
could. Did you stilt your cookie or did you set it just right on?
I just set it right on the cookie.
Okay, here's a little tip. If it does, okay, so what happens with the advancers is that they'll kind
It's
of
like a
fuse a little bit to the shelf under. Um, so if it
under.
does fuse, like the cookie might just stick to the shelf under a little bit.
Oh,
So
you mean on the bottom of the cookie that's sitting on the kiln shelf?
yeah, sitting on the kiln shelf. So all you
I
got to
think
do
it's
is take,
sitting on another advancer shelf though,
yeah, it's still gonna
with
fuse a little bit.
alumina.
So
Yeah.
um, all you got to do is just take the magic eraser and hit it on the side, and it should pop off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Next time I would stilt it just the tiniest bit.
Okay.
But yeah, it's so great. I mean like they don't bend. They're just
Yeah,
magic.
I was putting them. You ever see? I saw some recently where people were loading kind of precarious kilns with, they put the kiln post and then they put like a spoon rest or a bowl on top of it, and I'm like, oh, I've got these kiln shelves that are tiny that can go in the plug and fire that are square, so I can almost use that as an additional shelf. Or I've used the cookies where I put a post and then I set the cookie on top of it, and it's not gonna warp, so I can sit a piece on top of that and it's super
Yeah,
stable
that's nice.
instead of using like, a three-pronged stilt, which I've done that before back in the day. You put a stilt on top of a kiln post, like in between pieces, and it's like hovering
Yeah.
above everything. But I can use the cookie, feel, it'll get through there. It's not going to warp or anything. And then I can also do it with shells. I've done it with the little square shells from the plug and fire kiln. And there's like less mass there than a traditional shelf, so it's a little, you know, easier to get up to temperature and down to temperature. So, pretty nice. It's nice to have more flexibility with the loading and the shelves, and the weight is always, a big perk of the advancers.
Yeah, and if you have the tiny kiln, the plug-in fire, the advancer makes plug-in fire size shelves now, which is like amazing.
Hmm. I think they work for other kilns as well, but it's
Yeah.
nice that you can feel confident that it's gonna fit, and you don't have to get it custom cut.
Right. It fits in an 8x8 kiln.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you want to find all that information, you can go to
Advanced, no, kilnshelf.com.
I was gonna say it and then I was like, I can't remember. Did she have a jingle or not?
No,
If
you got the jingle. It was Advance Your Life, Advance Your Shelves, kilnshelf.com.
there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I
All
think it was.
right. On to the topic for today. And you're
Yes,
gonna
and
read
I'm
this one.
reading it.
All right. It's a long one, so
Yeah, it's a long one.
buckle up.
It's from Cool Guy Charlie. Charlie. Um,
Charles,
Charles. Okay, it says, "Hi. Thank you for making an awesome podcast. I love listening while I'm in the studio. My question is, how do you handle not wait, hold please.
are you reading the image?
No, I wasn't
Okay. Yeah.
back. Okay, I w- Eh, okay, sorry. Re rewind. Okay, hey guys, I had a question I wanted to submit. I'm a classic long-time listener and first-time question asker. I wanted to ask about what the best way to afford building a kiln is. A bit ago, I went to the soda fire that Ryan hosted, and I've been looking into building a kiln like that since. For some background on my situation, I just started being a full-time potter at the beginning of 2025. I'm in it for the love of the game and the thrill of the sport, so extra money isn't something I have a lot of right now. Anyhow, I've heard I can host a kiln building workshop and soda fire workshops to make my money back, but that's after the upfront cost of getting everything I need. Let me know what you guys think, and thanks again in advance. Love the podcast. It's helped me out immensely. Should I read the next part?
Sure. Why not?
Okay, I
You might
haven't
as
read
well.
the full
There's a
question,
lot
so
of it.
I'm
I can
going to
read the
blunt.
second part if you want.
No. Also, the reason I want to do soda is because my work looks and feels so much better in atmospheric firing than in my electric kiln. I currently wood fire and on occasion salt, but that's far and few between. By investing in a soda kiln like Ryan's, I could not only improve my work, but upgrade my pottery studio as a whole. I have my own studio and it is self-sufficient from start to finish. So if I were to build a kiln, it would be in the backyard as a temporary structure slash pizza oven, which I approve of, just in case one of my neighbors decided to be a weenie.
There we go.
I love that last line. That was great.
Of course. Uh, Charles, thank you for the question.
Yes, Charles.
Actually, Charles is coming to the July 25th workshop. He's coming back.
Charles's Charles's stuff is really cool. It would look way better in an
Yeah, it's
atmosphere.
got all the textures and it's very sculptural. He's got
Yeah,
function. It's mostly functional wear, but it's also very sculptural. So it
yeah.
definitely lends itself to the wood kilns, soda, Edmund. Yeah, all the atmospheric fire. It works nicely. So we'll see Charles here in a few weeks for the workshop. So, all right, there's a lot here, but I mean, a lot of it is just, I mean, there's the business side of it. How do you save up money? How do you source some of the materials for reasonable price? I mean, a lot of this is going to be just like how do you source a kiln and a wheel for the first time? I mean, a lot of this does get a little tougher because people don't randomly stumble upon fire brick and soft brick and things like that. Like you're usually gonna stumble upon kilns and wheels on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and those areas because people at least know at a base level what that is and they
Yeah.
might inherit that kind of stuff. People don't generally inherit a lot of soft brick and hard brick and all that. So,
Wait, before we start, Kim, let's first nail down like if I wanted to build a soda kiln like the one you have,
hmm
what are the things that I need? Let's go through the list of things
okay. Okay. So generally you need the main thing is the kiln body. You need an empty kiln shell. So mine is built from an electric kiln. So it's a converted electric kiln. Doesn't have to be any specific size, but generally I would say something that's about 5 to 7 cubic feet is kind of about the size you want. If it's too small, then you're spending a lot of effort to fire something that doesn't have a lot of results out of it because you can't fit a ton of work in there. So, you're not saving a ton of firing time if you have a 3 cubic foot kiln versus a 5 cubic foot kiln, probably. Um, so the kiln body is the main thing, and uh, that's a good starting point. You can always be on the lookout for a kiln body. You need cinder blocks, which you just, get those in any hardware store, or, you might have those on your property somewhere. And I would say those you could probably get away with using probably like red bricks and stuff too. I don't know that you necessarily need full on cinder blocks. That's to kind of elevate it off the ground and um yeah, keep it off the bare ground. But cinder blocks, you need soft brick. So soft brick is basically what you have. It's exactly what's inside your electric kiln. It's an
Hmm.
insulating brick that will m maintain heat, but it will not, and it also has a lot of heat loss. So you're using that to help.
It absorbs heat. Yeah.
It absorbs heat, yeah. So it helps you get to temperature pretty quickly, which is how your electric kiln can fire efficiently. If your electric kiln was all hard brick, it would take a lot longer to heat up that brick, and it would take a lot longer to cool down too. That's why people that fire wood kilns, it takes like a day or 2 days to unload it because it's just got so much thermal mass and it takes so long to cool. So you need soft brick for the insulation and the heat, um, holding that heat. And then you need hard brick because the soda, especially if you're using soda, if you're doing like wood, like those rocket kilns that you've seen that Andrew Linderman and some folks have, Lisa Orr, have made, you can get away with soft brick in a kiln with wood because it's not going to degrade the brick. If you're using soft brick, soda will degrade the brick. It's going to eat away at the brick. I don't know the chemistry of why it's doing that, but it does it. It's going to eat
Because
away at,
salt. Because
well,
salt.
it doesn't have salt. It's got soda, but
No, it's salt. Baking soda is salt.
I think it's sodium bicarbonate. I don't think, well,
Sodium.
sodium,
Sodium.
yeah. Okay.
Salt.
Okay. So there's, um, yeah, it's eating away at it. So you can't use soft brick directly. You have anything that's exposed to the soda has to be a refractory material, that's what Smith Sharp makes. That's what Kiln Shelf is manufactured by Smith Sharp. They have refractory stuff like hard brick and the insulating brick and all that refractory material is what you need so that it can actually handle the hardship of the soda. Um, that's what wood kilns are built out of and all that kind of stuff. And you also need the other main thing you need is a burner. Um, you need a simplest burner would be a Venturi burner, which is what you'd use for like a raku kiln. And you need a certain size burner that's going to withstand the temperature. So, um, you can find those. I found mine on Facebook Marketplace, somebody that was local to me that was selling it because she was using it for a raku kiln and she didn't need it anymore. So I just have a straight up, it's like 3.5 inches wide at the nozzle part. So you've got to get a certain Venturi burner that's got enough BTUs to keep that heat and that amount of I don't know the yeah, it's got to have enough BTUs and enough power to actually get up to the temperature you're trying to get to. If you have a smaller one,
Mhm.
it's probably going to max out at a certain amount and you're not going to get that amount of power to get you up to cone. I'm firing to cone 6, so I don't need as big of a burner as somebody going to cone 10 or higher. Or, some of those people have multiple burners. So depending on how big your kiln is, like if I had an oval kiln that was, what are those, like 12 cubic feet, 15 cubic feet, something like that, like you would need two burners for that. You can't get enough force and enough power with one Venturi burner. So you need a burner, and the other material you're going to need on the inside, you're going to need some castable. So you can use high alumina castable. You can look that up. There's different distributors around, but if you just look up high alumina castable, and it's a castable because it's mixed up kind of like a concrete, where you have a liquid, you have water, and you have powder. So you're mixing up the powder. It's essentially like a ground up hard brick, and you're mixing it up into a concrete consistency, and you're sticking it onto the kiln, and you're putting that on the soft brick of the electric kiln to protect it so it doesn't get degraded. So those are the main things you're going to need. I mean, the other stuff that you can get, like raw materials, like the soda and soda ash and baking soda, like all that stuff you can get. That's not costly, but those are the costly things. The costliest thing that you're probably going to have in all of that is going to be the hard brick. Like you can get a kiln body for free. A lot of people have kiln bodies. Soft brick is going to be cost some money, but the hard brick is probably going to cost the most money because each of those bricks is super dense. It's a high alumina. Generally, you want something, if you're going to cone six, you want something that's at least 2600 degree rated just to be safe. They make soft brick that goes to 2300 degree. I think it's just called 23 or something or 20. I mean, you could look at it. It's usually they're written on there. It says like 23 or it says 26 on it. 26 means it goes to 2600 degrees. And your electric kiln uses different brick like that. Like I think they're probably mostly 2300 degree bricks in the electric kilns. But you have soft brick, hard brick, the burner, that can cost some money. The other thing I didn't mention, you'll need to determine your gas. If you're going natural gas, maybe you have a gas line, depending on where you have it. If you have access to natural gas, you might need to add on to that gas line, or you might need to add, a valve or something for it. I don't have natural gas. I use propane, so you'll need some source of propane. Um, I'm using propane tanks, so I'm using 100-pound propane tanks, and
Yeah.
so they're big tanks. Usually, people that fire raku firings will use little 25-gallon gas grill tanks. But with raku, you're going a lot lower temperature. Like you could fire a raku kiln in probably like 2 hours or an hour and a half or something. You're going a lot lower. I think you're going to like bisque level, like 06, 08, something like that. So it's a lot lower temperature. When you're going up to cone, which is, I think, bisque, that temperature is about 1700 degrees. When you're going up to cone six, which is like 2200 degrees almost, uh, you need a lot more gas for that. And if you have too much pressure when you turn the gas on and it's going too fast in there, it can freeze up the tank. So you can either sit it in like a warm water bath or something to keep the gas inside from freezing up and the orifice where the gas comes out from freezing up. You can do that, but generally you need a tank big enough that you can uh, keep it from freezing up. So a bigger tank can kind of help you with that. And I have two tanks because I can switch between them when one of them's freezing up. And they have connections where you can link them together and have it they kind of like female together into a connector, and then they come out to the one regulator. And the regulator is what's controlling how much PSI you have. So how quickly that gas is going through the line to the burner. So, uh, but yeah, there's some places out there to get the burners, the tanks you can get from. I get them from there's a local gas supply company that sells the tanks. I did notice that I could not. You can't Depend on what state you're in, I guess. But generally, you can't rent the tanks because they want to know what appliance it's hooked up to. So, you might need to buy the tanks outright and then you get them refilled. But
Do you
um,
remember how much the tank was?
I want to say the tank was like, I think they're sold at Lowe's too. I want to say it's like $100 for the tank, and then maybe $100 for the gas.
That's not bad.
Lowe's 100-pound propane tank because they sell them 100-pound empty refillable tank 189. Okay, so maybe it was $200 before getting filled. Hmm. And also it's a little deceiving. So it, I it's a little confusing the way these pounds work. You think 100 pounds, so there's 100 pounds of propane. It's not that way. It's 100. I forget what's the 100 pounds. The 100 pounds is the um. I can't remember what the exact 100 pounds is. If it's the weight of the tank empty,
It's fine. That stuff
but
does.
it holds like 25 gallons of propane. So it's not like how many pounds are you using? And I'm like, use like 2/3 of a tank, so it's like 66 pounds. It's not that. So 100-pound propane cylinder is what I'm using, and I got two of them, and I use about, I think, half of a tank or 2/3 of a tank per firing.
Wow.
So the gas price fluctuates a little bit, the propane price. So I think it's about $60 or so to fire with the propane that I end up using. So um, that's going to be an ongoing cost that you're going to have to figure out. But the tanks, I don't know. You might be able to find used tanks out there. I mean, you might need to think about it whether you can actually fill it, because if you take it to some place and they don't think it's safe, they might not fill it for you. So, don't that's something to keep aware of. Um, Castable is going to cost you some money too. Um, I've heard that there's some DIY ways that you can try the castable. If you want to, let's say you want to save some money on the castable, I think I usually use about 150 pounds of castable for a 7 cubic foot kiln. It's about 50 pounds a bag, so that's $150. You could probably get away with DIYing an option where I've seen some things where some people use some Zercopax thing where you're kind of making like a high Zercopax and alumina or something where you're kind of making like a wash that you're putting on the brick, and it might hold it to a certain extent. The kind that I'm using is a castable, so it's it's not something that's going to degrade because the soda can't penetrate it and get to the soft brick and degrade it. So it's like a nice barrier. Um, so so yeah, I mean your sourcing of these materials is gonna be the key. Like I mentioned, keep on the lookout for the kiln bodies. You can reach out to some people, whether you if you have local clay studios to you, I would reach out to them. Hey, do you have a kiln body that people, you know, gave you or that you don't need or that you're trying to get rid of? Maybe they have a new one and they upgraded, or they have one that they were trying to do some maintenance on for somebody that brought it in and they couldn't get it fixed. I mean, that's what I did with Queen City. Gave me one that they had on in their back room that they'd been doing maintenance on and they just couldn't get it to work, and for some reason still had it, and they just gave it to me. So they salvaged the controller, but they gave me the kiln body. So local clay studios might have those on hand, and they might be happy to get rid of it, get it out of the store for you. And keep on look on Facebook. Obviously, people are trying to sell things on Facebook Marketplace, so you might be spending money for that. But another way that I've got access to some of this stuff and stumbled upon it, if you're in a local clay guild, I would put it out there that you're interested in and you're seeking a kiln, like a shitty kiln body, and there might be somebody that's, you know, had an electric kiln sitter kiln forever, and they, have been a collector of kilns and don't get rid of them, and you might be doing them a favor by saying, "Hey, I'm interested. I'm looking for an old kiln body that can convert for soda or for atmospheric firing. Is there anybody out there that has one or knows a lead on somebody that is trying to get rid of one?" And you might be doing them a favor because, like, I would feel bad kind of like just throwing a kiln body in the dumpster, you know, much less like where are you going to throw it away? Like, I don't have a dumpster. I don't know that I could just sit it on my curb to get somebody to pick it up. But, um, some people don't know where to go about getting rid of it, or it's just piled up somewhere in the basement, or it's covered up in their shed or garage or whatever, and they don't really know about it. But if it'd be nice for you to just come get it and get it out of their life, they might be grateful and willing to give it to you for free. So if you can source one for free, that's obviously the best case scenario. And the condition of the brick doesn't matter that much. The brick could be falling down, the elements could be falling out. When you put the castable on there, it's okay that the elements are in there because it gives it something else to grip onto as you're packing it in there and you're coating the inside. But the hard brick is going to cost you the most, I think. And I feel like every time I see somebody that's got a wood kiln or soda kilns or whatever, it's not the only kiln they have. So I feel like a lot of them have a bunch of brick laying around. Again, I think you would probably have to reach out to your clay guild to say that you're looking for some materials and these are make a list of what you're looking for. There, I don't know about sourcing used soft brick. I don't know if that would be as easy, but I feel like there's people that tear down kilns all the time that are, big gas kilns or wood kilns, and you could probably source some used hard brick for your kiln. Um, I mean, you're mainly using it for the bottom of the inside of the kiln that's getting exposed to the soda, your firebox area where the burner's going in there and you're dropping the soda into, and then the chimney. The chimney is a little iffy. Like, I don't know that I've seen some people that have made these kilns that have used soft brick in the chimney because there's so much soda that's circulating inside the kiln before it gets to the chimney, and it's not a ton that's going to degrade the soft brick of the chimney. I don't know how that's holding up over time. I think time will tell, but you might be able to save some money if you go. Maybe you do the first like couple layers with hard brick of the chimney, and then you use soft brick from there. You might be able to get away with that. Um, because the chimney, you're just trying to, get the draft of the firing and get the heat out of it. So it's not really getting a ton of soda exposure at that point. Uh, because I think those bricks, I don't know. I feel like I can probably go to Smith Sharp and see how much the bricks are, but um, the bricks are gonna cost you for sure. I want to say they're like $9 a brick or something. Hard fire brick, and you can get different. Oh, maybe they're not that much. Okay, sick. And kind of, there's some different rated ones, so kind of get an idea of what they're rated for. Okay, this one's 2900 degree max, $6 a brick. And then there's other ones that are 2800 degrees, but they're 8 pounds for that. So some of them have higher alumina. Like if you're firing to cone six, you don't need the super duty, the heaviest duty brick that's on the market. Uh, you just need kind of that standard rectangular brick that's like a 9 by 4.5 by 2.5. And that's $5 a brick. So you'll save a little bit. But um, I it's kind of sticky. Like I went the cheap route on the bricks. So I went to a local supplier in central Kentucky and got seconds quality bricks. But the reason they're seconds quality is because they're not square. So I think I shared a video a long time ago when I went and visited, but they have these massive beehive kilns that are like, how big are they? They're probably like 100 feet by 100 feet. They're outside and they're firing these things with gas and they pile up thousands of bricks in here. And some of them aren't perfect. So they come out and they're not square and whatever, they sell them at like half the price or $2 a brick or something. So you can save money that way, but you end up with a chimney that's not square. You stack a chimney and you expect it to be airtight. It's not airtight. I mean, they're not generally going to be airtight because it's still a brick after all. There's going to be little gaps here and there, but um, it doesn't stack very nicely when you're trying to have a 7 foot tall chimney and you got to kind of pad it with some castable or whatnot to fill in the gaps. Um, But yeah, if you're going the cheap route, sourcing it from someone that's had a kiln tear down, and you can get away with, for my size kiln, you can get away with about 100 hard brick and probably half of that in soft brick. Probably 100 hard brick, 50 soft brick, something like that. But you can kind of price that out and see um, what you need. I don't know where you would source soft brick if you wanted to get it used. I actually found mine on Facebook Marketplace. Somebody bought it because they thought they were going to use it for a fire pit. I think it was late because it's labeled like fire brick or something or soft brick or whatever. And they come in boxes that are completely covered. And they got it expecting they were going to put it in their yard. And it's not what they thought. It's specific for ceramic. It's soft brick. It's like insulating. And they didn't know what they had. So I think they got a pallet of it or something. They had a ton. And I didn't need all that I got. Or I didn't need that much. And they gave me way more than I needed. But um, it was at a steep discount because they were like, I don't know how else to get rid of this. Like nobody in regular, like everyday life is using the soft brick that much. Like it's industrial kind of stuff. Like people aren't generally using that. So, um, you might be able to get away with fire brick for like a chimney. I don't know if people like tear down chimneys that much or redo chimneys, but it's the same brick used for that. So you could probably I don't know where you'd go about sourcing it. Somebody tear down a chimney, but it's the same kind of hard brick for that. You might be able to get away with that. Um, But I would say my upfront cost was probably around 3 grand or so, 3 to
That's not bad.
4 grand. Um, and that doesn't include me rebuying new brick for the chimney because I ended up getting new square like retail cost brick for the hard brick after the chimney was kind of shit. So, I think I spent an extra, I'll say that was $5 a brick and I bought another 50 bricks or something. So where that is, was that $250? Is that right? Yeah, 250 bucks, $300 maybe that I ended up
Hmm.
spending on extra brick and castable. So, yeah, I mean, from the business side of storing, like collecting money, I mean, I would just, it kind of goes back to our profit first situation where you kind of go the envelope system. I would say, set aside a dedicated, if you want to go the envelope thing, just have an envelope and maybe dedicate 10% of your 10 or whatever percentage you can of your sales and just start squirreling away some of that money to buy some of those materials if you want to kind of go that route. Um, because you're not going to be able to recoup the cost until you have other people doing it that you can charge. And even now, like I'm selling the workshop spots and stuff, I didn't feel confident selling that early on until I got some firings under my belt. So it's not like I wouldn't recommend and like going in and I mean maybe building it together you can charge for some of that to get people to help you build it because they're getting the experience of how to do it and but you're also kind of doing the best you can with what information you have and I mean he's coming for a second time so he can like ask me questions about the kiln and see how it's built and all that stuff. Um but you know, I wouldn't feel comfortable charging people to come fire with me until I get a handful of them under my belt and I felt confident enough to like feel like I know what I'm doing and I can produce a certain like good enough result to charge people. So it is a big investment. It's also a big time investment of, you know, just going from firing to firing and you know, cleaning up the kiln area and cleaning off the shelves and adding like kiln washing things and mixing up soda and mixing up the kiln the wadding and obviously you still got to glaze everything and all that refill the propane tanks. Like it's a lot of overhead and labor. I mean, it's not he's familiar with wood firing, so he's familiar with the labor intensive atmospheric firings that take a big toll, but you know, if you're not doing it with other people, it is a big toll to take on yourself. Um, I do have assistants that help me with, you know, doing the kiln wash and the scraping the shelves and cleaning the pots after and all that stuff. It's a lot. So definitely weigh that. That, you know, that's why I'm not firing my soda kiln a ton of times. I'm only like I'm doing 6 workshops this year, but I'm probably only gonna fire it myself maybe 4 to 5 times in the year. So it's a, I mean, that's a lot of scheduling situations for me, but yeah, I would say that's some of the stuff you gotta weigh. What am I missing here, Becca? What kind of questions do you think
Um,
or
what about
sourcing
like
some of that kind
how
of stuff?
long it took?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good. How long it took to acquire everything?
Either, yeah, do how long it took to acquire and then how long it you think it would take if you were just building it by yourself.
Ooh, okay, so yeah, so all of this started from doing a workshop with Kevin Kowalski at Isaac's place in August of 2023. And I ended up building mine in February of 2024. And I was pretty much sourcing stuff once I left Isaac's in August. Um, so what's that, 6 months?
Yeah.
8 to 2, yeah. Yeah, so about 6 months. It's just a lot of things. It's a lot of it's a I mean you can I'm also gonna go the cost effective route. So like I said, I met up with Brian Wilkerson and we met at the place in Central Kentucky to go get the brick. You know, I was kind of sourcing around where I wanted to get the brick. You can go to Smith Sharp, their website, and order brick online and get it shipped to your doorstep. Get it on a pallet and get it shipped. You're going to pay more for freight. You're going to pay more, um, possibly for the brick if you don't pick it up directly from a refractory place that produces it. Um, but yeah, it's just a lot. It's a long to-do list of sourcing all this material. Um, Obviously, some of the stuff like cinder block you can get from I can get that the day before I build it. It's not a big deal. Um, you know, getting like angle iron and stuff like that. I didn't actually know that you can get angle iron that you need for putting the soda in at, you know, Lowe's or Home Depot. You don't have to go someplace special for that. Um, yeah, I would say if you're really booking it, you could probably, I mean, he does this full time as well. I mean, you could probably acquire everything in about a month or two. I don't think it would take that much time. It took me a lot of time because it's so many irons in the fire, and I wasn't super pressed to get it going. You know, I wanted a good plan for. making sure I had everything, getting the
Everybody's
scheduling,
very surprised about that.
getting the scheduling down with making sure I had enough support of the people that came to help build it because I like Brian Wilkerson came and helped build it as well, which he was at the workshop at Isaac's. So like we both had enough confidence of like what we were doing. Josh Heim was also here to help build it. He's done some soda firing and some wood firing and atmospheric. So like he had good skills in the building side of it as well. So I would say like the three of us were kind of the head people doing a lot of the building part. Um, and then you have others that help in different areas of, you know, uh, putting the castable in the firebox and cutting this thing and you know, going and getting something from the department store or the home improvement store or whatever. It's just a lot of things, and then all the tools and stuff. Like you need the diamond disc to like cut through the kiln body and cut holes for the peeps and all this stuff. If you're building it yourself, I mean, you could probably get it done over a weekend, but it would be a very tiring weekend. Let's say you get everything in a couple months and then you want to build it in a weekend. Uh, I wouldn't do all of it in one weekend. uh, I would probably I'd probably put that so some of the things that you can do beforehand, you can you can do the castable part on the rings of the kiln body, assuming your kiln body has rings in it, and you can, you know, put the rings on top of one another once you assemble it all. Uh, you can do that beforehand because it actually helps to get it in the right spot and set it and let it dry. And then you can kind of put those rings on top of one another in place when you're actually putting it in the final spot it's going to be. Um, Also, the other thing I didn't mention that you might need to do, you might need to actually get if you don't already have a pad where the kiln's going to live, you might need to get a cement pad poured or you might need to get gravel put somewhere. You want something stable that's level so that it can be the final resting place for that kiln. So it's, I don't have a structure over it. I don't have like a pergola or like a awning or anything like that. Some people might want to do that. Um, I just tarp it. It's the cheapest way to go. If when I'm not using it, I tarp it. I'm literally using it like 10 times a year. So I just tarp it when I'm not using it. It's sealed from the rain and all that. I just, use a heavy duty tarp. But that'll save you some money if you already have a spot in mind where you're gonna put it. Don't put it somewhere that's gonna get a lot of water, sitting water or whatever, where it's gonna soak into your bricks and your all that stuff. So, um, but I would say you probably comfortably build it over. I mean, if I was doing pottery full time, I could probably do it over a week and it wouldn't be too bad. Probably do it over like, yeah, probably a week. I would say if you have somebody that's handy that is willing to help you, even like they can be a potter or not a potter, just having another set of hands that can help you out is going to benefit. So I would say it's at least a two-person, three-person job just to not strain yourself so much because it's so much work. Um, what else do we need?
Mm,
The only like ongoing cost that aren't like a typical electric firing. I mean, you're paying for the raw materials for the wadding, the soda mixture, and the propane. That's pretty much the main. Well, there's also some other if you have to replace shelves or you have to replace posts or if you need a new kiln lid because the lid's going to degrade if you don't coat it in something. I haven't coated my kiln. I use kiln shelves that are big enough that are 26 inches that span the whole lid, and I kiln wash those so that it won't because the kiln lid will degrade after a certain period of time because it's soft brick if you don't coat it in something. I haven't coated it because I don't think it'll actually stick to the lid because of just gravity, it'll fall down. But you might have some ongoing maintenance kind of things that are going to degrade. The peeps, the soft brick for the peeps are going to degrade because it's getting eaten away by the soda as you're working, doing more and more firings. But I would say those are relatively manageable costs. If you're already in it for 3 grand or 4 grand to build it, you're not worried too much about it costing you, $60 a firing to recoup propane.
Yeah. I think it should be noted also that, I mean, like, if you're not getting this from him talking this whole time, it is expensive to do this and it is a luxury to do this. So it's not something you need, you know, but it's a really awesome thing to have. And so $3,000 is extremely reasonable for
Yeah,
for it.
for taking an atmospheric firing that is not, because I feel like people could pick up and do raku reasonably. I mean, the temperature you're going to is so reasonable cost for raku. Like you can just use a barrel, right? You can use a
Yeah.
venturi burner with a big trash can, coat it in that fiber, the ceramic blanket. I actually saw a pretty good video. I can't remember the Instagram account, but there was a pretty good video of somebody building a raku kiln in that fiber lined metal, and you can do that super easily. I mean, I don't know how much it costs to build one of the. I mean, you could probably get away with probably 100. Well, the burner, it depends on how much the burner cost. Let's say the burner cost me used from somebody $150. That's not how much it costs new. And new, it's probably $500, $600 maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, but you can get a raku kiln built for probably like a $300, 500, less than $500 probably. I don't know. I don't know how much the ceramic blanket costs. You could probably get a bill for $500, I would think. I don't know. They're pretty low. You could get some low maintenance options for that. But when you're talking about getting up to 200, 2200 degrees, it takes some insulation. You've got the downdraft, the updraft situation that you're doing. Mine is a downdraft because the flame goes in, it goes up, and before it can exit the kiln, it has to go back down. So it's going down and it's going out the chimney at the base. So you've got some, I want to say physics, but you've got some math and there's some formulas going on, some ratios going on of how much gas is input with the amount of space that you have in the kiln and the height of the chimney and the draft. Like there's some stuff that goes on here. You could probably, you could get those kiln building books and understand more of what I'm talking about here. Um, but yeah, it's definitely something. I wouldn't just build this for the fun of it if you don't have. I mean, unless you're just always a learner and you just want to have access to this kind of stuff. I built it because I wanted a long term. I had long term aspirations for how I was going to use it. Something like a raku kiln you can build for $500 or let's say it's $750. It's not a huge investment, and you can probably sell that off to somebody and they can use it and plug and play. They can use it immediately. They don't need a bunch of other things. They just need the propane and all that stuff. But you're not generally going to sell this built soda kiln to somebody. It's not as easy as just like I'm going to make my money back by just if I don't like it, I can just sell it. Like I mean, it
Yeah.
isn't technically a permanent structure. Like you can dissect it and break it down if you need to. So it's not as big of a commitment and all of that as a full on like 20 cubic foot soda kiln that people build and get built. Um, kind of like you see people's like huge gas kilns that they have. It's not quite that level of commitment. It's kind of a middle area, middle commitment between like a raku and one of those. Um, and I've seen some people that, take, I kind of mentioned that one guy. I can't remember what episode that was, but the guy that converts the electric kilns into gas kilns and he hooks up the propane underneath and like, you could do some of that without having, I think it's nice to just have that kind of ability to fire that stuff accessible. It doesn't have to be, you don't need a $20,000 kiln to do this.
Right.
You can, I'm DIYing it. I'm DIYing it from experience that I've learned from workshops and seeing other people that have built them similarly. Um, so like Kevin made a lot on his side. I've did the workshop with him. Isaac made his. I've fired at Isaac's as well to see kind of how he fires his. I've seen a lot of other people that have built them similarly. So, um, and generally because it's such, I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. This is the most in depth I've talked about this about the fire, like building the kiln and firing the kiln. Um, Generally, I want people that are interested in this to at least um, make an effort to um, it's not something that I just want to give out for free. I'm giving out for free by talking about it here, but this is kind of like I've almost probably overshared more than I should have, but it's one of those things where I want a level of commitment of like being willing to come to a firing, like come to a workshop, see what it's like, ask me about the kiln. We could talk about the materials, we could talk about how it's built, we could talk about all that kind of stuff. But I want like a certain level of commitment rather than asking with your hand out of how did you build that and expecting all of it to be completely free. Because there's kind of, there's some gray areas around like how much do I share? Like I paid to learn this stuff. I've built this with others. I've fired it myself. Like, some of this stuff I feel like can be shared like openly. And I know there's different people that have taken different paths with this kind of stuff, like the Rocket Kiln with Lisa Orr and Andrew, and it was its own thing. And they've got, it was done in a way that was for the community in mind first and foremost, and making it publicly like open source. They basically dedicated a like thesis level project of like going through and building these things and figuring them out, um, iterating on it, testing it. Um, Making different iterations of it. I think there's like updraft versions and there are cross draft versions, and there's a lot of documentation around that. There's like schematics of how to build it, and I don't think we're exactly there yet. And I also don't feel like it's not it's not mine to fully share in a way. Um,
But it's not yours to share either because they've been building these since the 70s. So let's you can find all this shit on YouTube.
yeah, you can source it from some people, asking, but going directly to people that have them, you know, be, I think you should be okay if they decide not to give you all the answers.
Agree.
Um, just like people that have glazes and things like that, hey, what glaze is that? Like they have the choice of telling you what it is or not telling you what it is. Even if they tell you what it is, they don't necessarily tell you the recipe. They can say, hey, it's a floating blue. But like, do you need the recipe or do you need all of the answers? So a lot of this you can learn from going to a number of these workshops that are happening around the country. Obviously, that's limiting for some people versus scheduling or cost or whatever. But like for what I paid to go to a workshop, I paid $300 to go to a workshop to learn how to do this, and I felt empowered enough to build this and had the money to spend $3,000 to build it myself. I understand a lot of people don't have that luxury. There are ways that you can cut some of those costs Like I've seen other people that have, the soft brick in the chimney, for instance. You could do it without castable on the inside and try it and see what happens. The brick will degrade, but if you don't know how much of a commitment you want to do to it, you can make it work. You can probably do it with a smaller kiln body. You might be able to make something work with like a hybrid between like a rocket kiln and what I have. You might not have to go 100% of what I have, and you might be able to save some brick. You might be able to make it updraft and save some brick. The chimney adds a lot of brick. So, if you do a smaller kiln, you need less chimney, so less hard brick. So, like there's some ways to do it to save some money. Acquiring a lot of these materials from people that are trying to get rid of them is a great way to save money. I mean, you're going to have to be diligent about how to source that stuff, but depending on where you're at, I mean, I thought it was going to be hard to find a kiln, but I was telling Becca before this, like I just stumbled upon another kiln body that I'm going to get from somebody, and I'm going to build another one of these. I'm going to build it a little different. It's going to be a little bit hybrid of what I've got with rocket kiln potentially, but finding kilns is doable. You might have to get a little scrappy. You might have to be that pest a little bit to ask people, "Hey, I'm trying to find a kiln body. Like, do you know anybody that has one?" Or, you might have to be willing to travel. Are you willing to travel 5 hours to go get a kiln body for free that somebody's, willing to part with? Uh, yeah, I feel like people stumble upon kilns so often and they don't know what to do with them. Not quite as
There's
much as
so
people that
many.
stumble upon molds, but I feel like molds are. I have 500 molds. Can you do something with these?
Yeah, but with those molds, there's always a kiln that hasn't been used in 30 years.
Yeah. And if it's like, you got to take the molds with the kiln, be like, toss it. I don't know.
In the pond.
The I really got lucky with the burner though. I don't know how you can source a Venturi burner used. You might just have to get lucky. Similarly, you might have to reach out to some people and see, uh, do you have any leads on it? Or I don't know, maybe there's people that have gas kilns that have been tore down or whatever, and you can source the burners from that.
Yeah.
Another option that I didn't mention, obviously we got Facebook Marketplace and all that kind of stuff for kilns, but um Gov Deals, I don't know how often people use that, but it's a lot of schools and community centers and things that are trying to close down and get rid of equipment. So they have, occasionally you'll see pug mills on there and wheels on there and kilns on there. So you might be able to get a good price. That's like a bid system of how you can acquire those items. So you kind of put a bid in for a certain amount of money, but you might get a steal for a kiln. Um, One thing I would caution you, I would not suggest if you're building this for the first time, I would not suggest an oval kiln. It's going to be, for one, you're going to use way more hard brick to cover the footprint of it. Two, you're going to need more burners. You're probably going to need two burners. You're going to need more castable. There's going to be more money. It's not going to work as consistently out of the gate. You're going to have to figure that out a little bit more. So
But
I wouldn't
also,
I wouldn't recommend that.
but also, we would never recommend an oval kiln for anybody. Like, unless you actually know what the fuck you're doing. Like,
Right. So don't try to be like, "Oh, I got a steal on an oval kiln. Should I get it?" It's like $600. It's like, "No. Don't
no,
get that."
don't get it.
So I would say, smallest kiln I would go with, you could get away with a 3 cubic foot kiln. I don't know what that would be like. It seems like a lot of effort to fire in a 3 cubic foot kiln because I'm only firing in half of the kiln. Half of my kiln's empty because half of it's a firebox to allow the heat to distribute and stuff. But you can also figure it out. Like you might be able to figure out a way, and I'm gonna kind of play around with this with that new kiln, a way to fill the whole kiln. But I feel like 5 cubic foot is probably the smallest I would go on this. Maybe, yeah, 5 cubic foot. Mine's 7. There's a lot of 7 cubic foot kilns out there that have examples of people that have built this kind of setup. And you might be able to get away with a 10. 10 would kind of push it a little bit with a burner, but you might be able to get away with one burner with a 10 cubic foot. I'm not sure because I don't have experience with a 10 cubic foot kiln, but uh, yeah, that's kind of what I would recommend. Gov deals. I don't know of anybody that's actually got anything off there, but
Oh,
I've
Preston gets shit off of that all the time.
does he just get it because it's a great deal and he's like, I can figure something out?
And
I mean, the wheels would be great. If people don't know about this for wheels, definitely check out Gov Deals. It's not going to be always accessible in your area with places closing, but you might be willing to drive like 4 hours to go get something.
yeah, I mean, like, Preston just kind of knows what he's doing and he knows how to fix things. And, like, honestly, I'm not speaking for him as him, but I am speaking as somebody who sees all the kilns in his studio. If you live in North Carolina and want an empty kiln body, I feel like I could find you one.
Really?
I'm, I mean, like, I would obviously have to ask Preston, but like, we have like 12 in the studio, and I think he has plans for some of them, but I don't know.
Man. See, man, I think anybody out there, just for funsies, like go to Gov Deals, govdeals.com, and just search for pottery wheel or kiln or whatever. Like I'm looking, there's usually they close down community studios, so they have multiples of things. So like I'm seeing three creative industries clay bosses on here. Two of them have the red splash pan. One of them's got a black splash pan. You know that black one's old because that's the one I had back in the day.
Damn.
In Tennessee, Cooksville, Tennessee. I'm not sure where that's at, but that was probably it's probably a college or something that closed and they're trying to get rid of stuff. Um, yeah, and you can search for Kiln on there. Usually the deals are up for I think like 2 weeks or a week or something. Yeah. I don't know what the minimum amount of time is, but obviously with any bidding thing, it's a little deceiving because this kiln I'm seeing is like $16, but it's got 8 days left to kind of. But the great thing is you don't need a great quality. Oh my gosh, this looks like a brand new L&L in there. Wildwood, Missouri, $16 right now. The inside looks pristine. It is a three phase, so. But thing is with atmospheric, you don't care about the phases because you're hooking it up with gas. So who cares about
That's
that? But yeah, what else? I would say if you are I would like I mentioned the workshop, so if you're interested in coming to a workshop, I will have more of them coming out this year. I got one spot left in my July 4th through 6th workshop. This is where we have six of us come. You bring 6 to 10 Bisqueware pieces. We glaze it, wad it, load it, fire it, unload it over a 2.5 day weekend. And it's a good time. So I have a spot there, and then I have three spots, I believe, for the July 25th through 27th. So if you're near Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, or you want to do a little road trip, uh, come see me. Sign up on my website. I'll put the link in the description, but I would say please don't reach out to me directly and say, "Can I please get the plans for your kiln build? I would like to build one of these." If you're listening to this, I would not like you to reach out to me to ask for that because I don't feel comfortable giving that information out for free.
and that's rude.
So, yeah, I always feel iffy about that. Um, and I've had to turn people away and refer them elsewhere and it's yeah, it puts me in a sticky situation and I don't necessarily want to have to tell you no, but it's kind of a boundary that I've built at this point for now. So, well, yeah, well, I would say listen to what I've been talking about here and kind of piece it together. A lot of it you can figure out from looking at photos and videos of the kilns that have been built. So, a lot of it is fairly straightforward if you can look at some of that stuff and understand what you're looking at, which this episode is going to clear a lot of that up of what you need to build it. So, Let me look back at his question one more time to make sure I didn't miss anything. The workshop stuff. The other, yeah, I guess the other thing is like you also like building this. I don't necessarily have to do the workshops. I don't have to do the workshops to offset it. Um, Realistically, the propane cost and all of that and the effort I put into it should, if I were firing my own work in there, it should be covered by the cost that I charge for the pieces. It's not required that I have to do workshops to cover the cost of my kiln. Um, I'm doing it because I want to give, just like I had access to do this firing. I'd never done soda firing before, probably 3 years ago, and I wanted to give access to people to have this opportunity to fire it in this way. Also to cone six, which is generally not the most common thing for soda firing. Usually you're doing cone 10. And I wanted people to experience it because it's like I got super like infatuated with it and really love the process and love the results that come from it, the unpredictability, but like the controlled predictability of using glazes or slips or how you load it or whatever. Like it's a great it's a great like learning opportunity because I'm still learning every time I fire it, and I get like excited every time I fire it and have people enjoy the process as well. And I like that it feels accessible. Like when people leave the workshop and they're like, I want to build one of these kilns myself, which, Charles is one of those people that said like, hey, I want to do this someday, you know, and I love that he's willing to come back. Like I don't have anybody that's come back to another workshop, and it should be great, and he'll be able to hone some of his experience of the last time he fired it with me, and what he wants to do. And I've improved significantly. Like I think that firing when he was here, we might have fired it for 14 or 15 hours, and I've got it down to like 10 or 10 and a half hours. Like I'm improving significantly the more I do this. So, the workshops are improving. My own work is improving in there. Yeah, it's just fun to share with other people. I generally don't put any of my own work in those kilns in the workshop. So, I'm not really benefiting from work that's coming out of it, but I'm benefiting financially to cover the cost of my time and labor and somewhat. I mean, I probably could charge more and, cover more of it, but um, yeah, it's just a fun experience. Nice to share with folks that have a lot of them have never soda fired, so that's really nice. Um, and I think I'm in a good spot of the country that there's a lot of people within a reasonable distance that can take advantage of it. Because there's only like Cone Six Soda, there's only like 10 of these kilns around the country that I know of that are advertised that people like know about that are firing a Cone Six. So it's fun. It's not something that I would have pictured myself doing necessarily a few years back, but doesn't take too much to um make you feel like, oh, this is possible. This isn't super crazy.
Yeah.
Anything else, Becca? Any questions or had you done soda firing with? Did you fire with Brett Preston or any of them soda? I mean, you fired with me
Uh,
that one time, but
no, we haven't done soda. Sarah does soda all the time. They have like a legit soda kiln, and they also have a legit wood kiln, but it's like a mini wood kiln. I've done wood with them.
mm,
We had a fish fry that night, and uh, but I haven't done soda with them. I mean, like she does soda. Sarah does soda for her main pieces. Like that is primarily what she fires. So she does. I think she does it quite a bit. Um, but I haven't done it because I've been off pottery for 3 months,
hmm
6 months, 5 months. So yeah. But I hate to cut it short. We are 30 minutes away from my bedtime. So
All right. Well,
yeah.
with that, thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks for coming to Ryan's podcast about about soda kilns.
Soda firing. And if you want a book recommendation, soda and clay, I think is what soda shit. It's from Gail Nichols. What is it called? Gail Nichols. Gail Nichols. Soda, Clay, and Fire.
Nice.
That's a good book. And it's a small
Nice.
book. It's not too big. So if you're interested in soda firing in general, that's good to learn a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to another episode of Wheel Talk. This podcast is made possible through the contributions of all of our listeners who always ask us great questions, leave us reviews, and contact with us through social media. Thanks to all the fellow makers as well who take time to be interviewed and share about their lives and businesses.
And thank you to Ashley from Boldover Ceramics and Lindy from Lindy Garner Ceramics for their assistance on the Whale Talk Podcast Instagram. You are invaluable. Thank you to everybody.